Why, hello there. What's up, guys? It is so good to see everyone's face. I am finally back from my week off from making videos and updates on the channel. It's been a fantastic time, had some friends in town, and it was a blast. Although, there was a lot that happened this last week, and it was kind of unfortunate that so much news was happening in the gaming and Nintendo world while I had some friends in town and not really doing any updates, but that's how it is. So I figured what I'd do is just kind of touch on a few topics that happened this last week that I didn't really get to talk about. I missed a couple of episodes in the podcast because there was a 4th of July, then my friends in town. We're going to be doing the podcast now tomorrow on Monday. Really exciting because we're going to be going over what we all collectively think are the 20 best games on the Wii U. So if you're a Nintendo and Wii U fan, which I know most of my audience is, you should definitely check that out. A link is in the description of all of my videos to that podcast, The Juice is Loose. So if you're interested, feel free to check it out. If not, no big deal, but it's going to be a ton of fun. Can't wait to do that. But as far as all the things that have been happening this last week or so, I want to touch on 3 main topics. The first one is actually older than a week. I've barely had a chance to talk about it. That is the one and only Pokemon Go. I really just wanted to give, honestly, some of my quick actual thoughts on the game. I did manage to squeeze in a quick update video where I touched on some Pokemon Go related theories that people have been having this last week. But I haven't really gotten to talk about the game, so I figured I would just kind of update on that a little bit. As I said, even in that video now, a couple of days ago, it's hard to say anything about Pokemon Go that hasn't already been said, except that it's really impressive. I'm surprised at what's happened with this game, with this app, with what Nintendo and I guess the Pokemon Company is the team. I think Game Freak or Pokemon Company, I can't even tell who owns it. I'm not a Pokemon fan, so I don't really know these things, but Nintendo and the company that does the Pokemon games with them, they've done an amazing thing. I mean, what this game has achieved is incredible. We know it's been making a lot of money. There's been debate over how much of that money actually goes to Nintendo. I first heard like 10%, a fairly small percentage, but when you think about how much money it's made, it's still a lot of money. I actually just got finished watching some of the podcasts that Francis from Player Essence, or OJ from Player Essence, and Super Metal Dave did. I watched about half of that. And they touched on the fact that apparently it's been actually reported that it's 30% that Nintendo is actually taking home from all of the Pokemon Go success and revenue. And I hope that that's true. I hope it's that high. Whatever it is, it could be 1%, and they're probably still banking a lot of money. And it's really, really impressive. A lot of controversy coming out around Pokemon Go, as we all know, because some people are being stupid and hurting themselves and falling off of cliffs and getting themselves like robbed and all these horrible things. The thing that I want to say, and I even made a joke about this on Twitter, and I'm going to echo the same sentiments here. The thing about Pokemon Go is any of these bad things that we've heard about, such as the people falling off cliffs or maybe getting robbed or whatever, yeah, that's not the game's fault. There is no way that that's the game's fault. It is still just a game at the end of the day. From what I understand, I have not downloaded or played it yet, I know, which is blasphemous. Maybe eventually. But from what I understand, every time you turn the game on, I think it even warns you, like, hey, pay attention to what you're doing. Don't be a dumbass, please, and you're welcome. And I think that that's very smart. I think that they were aware that people might not be paying attention to what's happening as they're running around trying to find Pokemans. And I think that's very smart. But beyond that, there's a level of common sense, even if you're a kid, that I feel like you should have. So I wouldn't really let anyone get away with saying, oh, the Pokemon game is hurting people. No, it's not. Stupid people are hurting people, not the game. The game says, hey, go out and search the world and find stuff. Great, but do that within the parameters of your own good judgment and common sense, which means don't walk off a freaking cliff holding your phone trying to catch a Charmander. That's stupid. You're stupid if you do that. I know that 2 people did that. I don't think that they got hurt or killed, so I feel a little more comfortable kind of talking smack to them. If they seriously got hurt, I feel bad that they got hurt, but I think it's probably a good warning and a wake-up call to those people and anyone else who might be doing that. Hey, don't get hurt. Don't walk off cliffs. Don't walk in front of cars or into traffic. And maybe don't go out at 3 o'clock in the morning at a place where you know a lot of people might be looking to rob someone. Or if you get robbed just by accident, just by happenstance, that has nothing to do with the game. So this rant I'm going to end. I need to actually put this aside so I don't just focus on this part. But I don't like the idea that some people are trying to spin it like Pokemon Go is a danger. And no, it's people's own stupidity, ignorance, and lack of common sense that is a danger, not the Pokemans. So that aside, I think it's great because Nintendo has gained an insane amount of mind share through this game, or at least I think. What's very curious, actually, and all you people who are actually playing it, which I'm sure is all of you, you can tell me if this is true or not. it doesn't really seem like a lot of people outside of the direct gaming public and the direct Nintendo fan are actually lauding Nintendo for their involvement with this game. And I know it is more than them. It's this Niantic company or the Pokemon company plus Nintendo and all this. There's a lot of different entities working together here, but it's still like a Nintendo gaming property. Pokemon is a Nintendo gaming property. That much is for sure. And it's weird because outside of the direct Nintendo and gaming fans, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are talking about this thing that Nintendo made. It's like everyone's talking about Pokemon Go, and it's really great, and you can see it on all these news channels, news articles, just on the regular local news, big YouTubers talking about it who wouldn't typically talk about gaming or Nintendo. But no one's really talking about, even the people who are like, Pokemon Go is great, what a surprise. No one's really attaching that to Nintendo. And I think that that's interesting. I don't know how much you see Nintendo's name and logo throughout the game as you play it. It seems like really not much at all. So still, Nintendo is getting attention for what they've done here and with their involvement with this game and the breakthrough that it's been, but I was kind of hoping or expecting to see more. Maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe it is out there and I'm just not like noticing it or paying attention. But regardless, it is still very neat to see something that Nintendo did, this new mobile thing that they're doing. This is a great breakthrough for them. It could bode very, very well. It's definitely going to bode very, very well monetarily for them. I think that it's going to show that this is a viable platform for really unique creative ideas. It shows that Nintendo, in typical fashion, they innovate first in a lot of areas. They're really slow out of the gate in other areas. But even when they're slow out of the gate, such as online, DLC, and now mobile stuff, they do it better than anyone. And that's really pretty impressive. You could argue they're not doing online better than anyone, but what they do have is the only free online with a network that still works very competently. So that's pretty amazing that they're doing that. They're the last free online service for a console. And it just shows what Nintendo's able to pull off, man. I think it's really impressive. I'm not a Pokemon fan. Even as a Nintendo guy, I'm just not a Pokemon fan. It was a little bit behind my time. But this game, I think I'm going to give in. Every friend I have is playing it. Everyone I know on Facebook back at home is posting and talking about it. Everyone on Twitter, all these celebrities, my friends who were just in town, my girlfriend, everyone is loving this game. And I've seen it. Everyone I work with is playing it and talking about it and not getting any work done. So I'm definitely going to try it sometime soon. I just want to actually upgrade my phone so that I feel like it's better for using this game. Because from what I understand, it's pretty demanding on the battery and the GPS and all that good stuff. So either way, I had a lot to say about Pokemon Go, I guess, but I'm very proud of Nintendo, very happy with what's happening with this game. I hope that it's opening the doors wider for some cooler stuff down the road. I hope this is not a one-off thing from Nintendo and from the mobile initiative, but we'll see. I think what they're doing here is kind of going to tie into their future with the NX. I really think like the mobile universe of mobile gaming and tablet gaming is going to be kind of connected with the NX and their future home console gaming plans. So we will see, but Pokemon Go, man, what a crazy time it's been. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is pretty exciting, mostly just to me. Star Wars Celebration is going on this weekend over my birthday weekend, which, by the way, my birthday was yesterday. So over my birthday weekend here, we've been having Star Wars Celebration happening in Europe. Very, very exciting as a huge Star Wars fan. Lots of great Rogue One news. Not much Episode 8 news, but that's okay. It's probably going to happen at next year's Celebration, which I'm actually attending, by the way, so can't wait for that. We got some Star Wars Rebels Season 3 news, and we got some even gaming updates. We got some updates on DLC for Battlefront, which is neat, I guess. I still like that game, but I'm kind of over the DLC stuff, and I'm just waiting for the next big thing. The most important thing that came out that I wanted to talk about is Amy Hennig, previously of Naughty Dog, now with EA and Visceral Games, was actually on stage and talked a little bit about their game. And we know that Visceral's game is the one most kept secretive and that most people are curious about and excited to see. During E3 and that really weird 3-minute little Star Wars preview video that EA put on, which was cool and also lame at the same time, they showed us a quick 3-second clip of some random stranger walking out of a hut on some sort of rogue planet. And that was the only actual footage we saw. Some other little bits of concept art. They showed us some more concept art as she talked about the game, her approach kind of coming from the Uncharted games and how they're trying to tell a story in an ensemble cast story. I think that's great, by the way. She said that the Star Wars movies and the Star Wars universe works great with that ensemble, as evidenced by basically all the movies. She used Han, Leia, and Luke, of course, as a great example. Rebels and Clone Wars and the prequels all had a group of characters that worked together, and they're carrying that forward in this game. I was very excited to hear that that's what they're doing with this game. I think that we're going to finally get this single-player story-centric experience that we wanted. It doesn't look like it's going to be Star Wars 1313 like a lot of us, myself included, had hoped, and I think that's a bummer, but I still want to believe that that game's coming back. I really want to believe that they're doing something there with Star Wars 1313. The pictures are neat. It shows a couple of characters like running and jumping, just like from a distance you can see some characters who you cannot identify jumping over cliffs and off ledges and stuff. You can see that some are male and some are female. That's very obvious too. And it's pretty cool. Like, a buddy of mine mentioned how it looks like Assassin's Creed, and I think they even mentioned comparing Assassin's Creed to this new game. That's fine. I'm not really an Assassin's Creed guy, but I feel like those fundamentals can probably translate well to a really good Star Wars story and a Star Wars game. And if it's got some Uncharted elements in there too, that is what would get me personally really, really excited. In this concept art, they showed two things that stood out, and they were kind of the same thing. They showed flags with the Empire's logo on it, and they also showed some stormtroopers, some original trilogy era stormtroopers. So not anything from the First Order and the new trilogy with Episode 7 and stuff. So none of that. So it means, in no big surprise, it's probably taking place during the original trilogy, which is fine. I feel like under this new Disney regime, they're just going to force the original trilogy down our throats, and I think that that's cool, but also too bad. I want a lot of prequel stuff. I want a lot of new trilogy stuff. And I think that we'll eventually get that. I really think that we will. They've even already made a canon novel set during the prequel trilogy, which was great. And some Clone Wars and prequel stuff is happening even in Rogue One and probably in Episode 8. But I want them to do that even in the gaming space. So we'll see what happens there. Regardless, those pictures do kind of let us know the setting and the time period. I am excited to play a game during that time period. Is it between episodes 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, or before 4, or after 6? I really want to know how it actually fits in, but we've got empirical stormtroopers for sure in these photos, so that has to tell us what time period we're playing. Hopefully, if they're borrowing elements from 1313, that means we still go to Coruscant, because that's where 1313 took place. That's where the district of 1313 is actually located. So maybe they're combining what that game was with this new game. That would be pretty cool. But regardless, it was very interesting to see. Now, we don't know when we're going to see more actual footage from the game. The game is scheduled for 2018, not next year. EA is being slower than molasses getting these Star Wars games out. They forced out Battlefront probably too early, and now everything else they're taking too long on. But to be fair, if I had to pick one, I would take too long, because you're going to get better games. So that's great, but it just kind of shows a lack of preparation on EA's part. They've had the license for now 4 or 5 years coming up. You'd think they would have had a couple of games ready to go sooner, like one after another or something. But instead, they wanted Battlefront first, then a year's worth of DLC. And that's just the way that things happen nowadays. But regardless, I'm excited for this game. Visceral's a great studio. I hope they're also working on a Dead Space 4, but to know that the same team responsible for Dead Space is working on this Star Wars game with Amy Hennig previously of Naughty Dog is very exciting. I like the concept art. I like the direction it seems like they're going from the little bit of info we've gotten, and I just can't wait to find out more about all Star Wars games, including this new Visceral project. Okay, and the last thing is a fun one. Pretty pumped to talk about this. I almost found a way to squeeze a whole video out about this one topic, but I just couldn't do it with friends in town. So here I am adding it to this video, and let's talk about this NES Mini. What a weird little awesome freaking surprise that thing was. That came out of nowhere. I know you've seen it. It's got a picture of someone's hand holding this NES that's like an exact replica that's like as big as this person's hand. It's crazy. It's got little ports on the front. It comes with one old school NES controller, and it has 30 classic NES games downloaded on it for only $60 coming out this November. Holy freaking crap. So exciting. Most people have been pooping their pants over this thing. I pooped my pants over this thing. I'm absolutely going to buy it. I'm actually probably heading to GameStop later today, and I'm going to see if they're even doing like reservations for this, because I think we all know that this is the kind of thing that Nintendo could very easily make super hard to find. So I recommend anyone out there who's curious, start looking around. We need to start paying attention to see if this is something that's going to be reservable, because if so, obviously a thing you should do. I'll just pay for the whole thing right away. I won't even mess around. I want to have this thing. The games list is awesome. 30 games, which includes the original Metroid, Hallelujah, both Zelda and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, awesome. All 3 Super Mario games, I think Mega Man's 2 and 3. And then a really cool surprise that not enough people are talking about, Castlevania's 1 and 2. That's probably, even though I prefer the Zelda and Metroid games, obviously, and the Mario games even, I haven't played those original Castlevania games in so long, and I am very, very excited to go through those. I'm even one of those crazy people, apparently, that likes Castlevania 2. I don't know why everyone shit on that game. I think it's great. At least I have great memories of it, I should say. It was terrifying. So I'm very excited for that. 30 games. You can buy even an additional NES controller if you want. The ports on the front, as we all know, are the same ports that's on the bottom of Wiimotes, so you can plug in like the classic controllers and the classic pros to it, which is pretty cool. Those are not very long cords, so I don't know how practical that's going to be for a lot of people, but it's neat you can do it. Most importantly, it's the ability to have those old NES controllers. What's disappointing is they have announced, I think this is official, that no extra games are going to be made available. There's no cartridge slot for games, and there's not going to be downloadable games made available for this, which some of us maybe theorized or hoped for. I think that would have been very smart, but they're not doing that. Probably because it would cannibalize the virtual console business they have currently, and maybe that's meant to continue, so they don't want to mess with that. And if that's true, then I get it. But it would be so cool to be able to download more games to it. But either way, 30 games, 30 classic games is so exciting. The big question is, if this is successful, which it obviously will be, are they going to do more of these? Would they possibly be awesome enough to bring out a Super Nintendo Mini, an SNES Mini? Oh my God. If you throw SNES classics on that, like Street Fighter and Final Fight and Super Metroid, Mario World, Yoshi's Island or Yoshi's Story? Yoshi's Story, I think it's called. I can't remember which one. All these different, there's so many great games you can throw on there. Super Mario RPG, was that Super Nintendo or 64? Maybe that was 64. You guys can correct me. Either way, there's a ridiculous amount of games that was the heyday of Capcom too. They could put like some of the Disney games on it, like Lion King and Aladdin, which were great in that 16-bit era. Contra, wow, so many cool things that they could throw onto that. But like I said, the real question and the thing I wanted to talk about is not only how cool this is, could they maybe do a Super Nintendo version later, and they probably will if they're smart, but it's also how rare is this thing going to be. I'm telling you guys, prepare for this thing to be rare and hard to find. That's what happens with Nintendo's consoles, their handhelds, Amiibo, and things like an NES Mini, which is just this random little emulator box that's going to be a collectible. I know it. This thing is probably going to be hard to find. Maybe they confirm it won't be, but I'm planning on it being that way, so I'm going to be searching to see if it's going to be pre-orderable. Is that a word? Reservable? I'll say reservable. If it's going to be something that you could pre-order or reserve, because that is absolutely my plan, and I recommend that you do the same thing if you are interested in this. And that is going to be it. 3 pretty cool topics from the last week. Really excited to talk about some Star Wars stuff a little bit. A lot of cool things happening out of Celebration this year in Europe. Super cool. It's got me pumped to cosplay with my girlfriend and go to Florida next year and attend Star Wars Celebration. That's going to be awesome. And yeah, how about that Pokemon Go, man? What a crazy world we're living in right now with that. Very excited to see what the future is going to bring for Nintendo, the mobile stuff, Star Wars, and the NES Mini. Tell me what you guys think about all this stuff below. I appreciate your patience as I finally get back onto a regular rotation. Again, feel free, if you're curious, to check out that podcast, Tomorrow the Juice is Loose. If you haven't checked us out, we have a lot of fun. I've posted a couple of excerpts you've probably seen. It's a great group of guys, really good friends of mine, and we're going to discuss the 20 best games that we think are on the Wii U. If you're a Nintendo fan, you'd be crazy to miss it. So definitely check it out. Follow the link below to subscribe, or at least find a link to the podcast itself. And I guess that's it. Talk about all these topics, Pokemon, NES, Star Wars below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.